So welcome to another video from theplayers8.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And welcome to our monthly debrief for July of 2023.
A busy and eventful month.
And yet, we didn't play
a whole lot of games.
Together.
Yeah, together.
Yeah.
I think that's the key, together.
We had all these lofty plans of playing lots of war games.
Yep.
And then the reality of it is that we played almost none throughout the whole month because we knew we're going to play a whole bunch at WBC.
And at the end of the month.
Yeah. We did a bunch of for fun gaming. So that's what you get for this month. This video is sponsored by our good friends at Noble Knight Games. Very grateful for their sponsorship, but more from them later on. Yeah, it was funny because I feel not bad in a way, but first off, WBC is going to come up a couple of times in this video. There will be a full kind of debrief of that, probably after this video is out.
It's its own video, so I don't think we're going to talk a lot about it. You're going to cover really quickly some of the games.
Yeah, I'll list a bunch of the stuff that we did, but that video has a lot of detail about what we did, what we experienced, all the different things going on there as well. So just know that we had lots of plans to play lots of games at WBC, and
lots of games were played at WBC.
Yes.
Just not with me.
No.
I had a health crisis in the middle of the time and ended up being in the hospital for 4.5 days, but
so
it is what it is.
We were like, oh, we're going to play a bunch of games.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
And so we didn't play any throughout the whole month, and we played a lot of Frosthaven.
Yeah.
And then we also played none at WBC.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's the way the cookie crumbles
Sometimes it happens. So let's kind of dive on in with what we did play.
Yeah.
So, as I just said,
Frosthaven.
we played a lot of Frosthaven.
With our father-in-law, who we enjoy playing games with, and that's Gloomhaven we've played for multiple years, and Frosthaven came out, and we keep playing it. So,
yeah. And they just released they had that Game Found or Back a Kit event where they had the deluxe version of Gloomhaven that's coming out.
Okay.
That's where I've ordered the playmat books for Frosthaven.
Oh yeah, which are very nice.
Those aren't coming for a year, but and then oh no, they're coming later this year is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
Those are done. But the Frosthaven miniatures and
very
there's
cool.
an RPG, so
yeah.
That's what we do in our spare time.
Yeah.
I know this is a wargaming channel.
Well, we also love war games, but I think intentionally, particularly the first couple weeks of July, because we knew WBC was coming, we were like, okay, we can afford to take a break for a couple of weeks. And I think we had a family thing. We had 4th of July stuff. Yeah. I mean, it was, but
yeah,
we'd hoped to play 8 or 10 games, and you did. You played 8 or 10 games,
I did,
but
yes.
Unfortunately I didn't.
So if you don't know, WBC is the World Board Gaming Championships, massive
Pennsylvania, 6-hour drive for us.
And we go there, play a lot of war games. There's a lot of war game tournaments, play a lot of board games, things like that.
And we also go because there's just a ton of designers.
Well, and
new prototypes and new upcoming games, and it's a blast.
And having been there for, I think this was our fourth year going.
We figured it was 4.
We now have lots of friends there.
Yeah,
as well.
we go there and people remember us and we remember them and we play games together and have a good time.
When you sit down and play an 8-hour game with someone, you make a bond with them.
Yeah.
And then you see them again next year. Oh,
yeah.
Remember that
Had
time
a great
last
time.
year? Oh, what should we do this year? Right?
Yeah.
All that stuff. So it's just a joy to go every year. But yeah, there's like a whole hour and a half video of that coming
But
up.
Go ahead and cover the games that you did play.
Yes.
And maybe you don't have to show all of them. But
No, that's a lot of hassle. So I played, amongst other things,
they're all over there on the floor because we just did another
video. I played Fire in the Lake, Charioteer. I played that like 3 times. People Power.
Great little game, by the way.
Yeah.
People Power.
Pendragon. Twilight Struggle Red Sea.
Great game.
I played the Barracks Emperors, the new card game from GMT. I played a session of The British Way, which was really cool.
So good.
I played John Company twice.
Okay.
I played Here I Stand for a good 8-hour session.
Very jealous.
And Pericles. Played a game of Pericles as well.
Good.
I think that might be everything that I had played.
So that was 10 different titles.
Yeah.
One of which you played 3 times.
Time of Crisis. I played a Time of Crisis.
So 11 different titles, one of which you played 3 different times.
Yes.
Charioteer.
Yep.
And then one that you played
twice,
John Company.
Yes.
2nd edition.
So that was, when I say it was like, oh, we're going to get lots of gaming in, that's what our WBC schedule looks like.
Yeah.
We play as many games as we can, and then it's squeezing in an interview here or there, or like going and doing some of the video content as well. We try to cram as much in as we can.
Yeah.
And it's a blast every time. So.
Well, this year we talked to Greg Smith,
Yes.
did a video. Ben Hull, you did.
Sat down with Ben Hull.
Grant and Mike Wiley, you did a video with.
Yes. That may have been it for interviews.
Plus, we did a car video that was really fun.
Yes. And then I did a wrap-up. I did like a 5 experiences on the way home.
Yep.
And then I
Alone.
also did like a... Yeah, that was weird. That was really weird. And also probably a bit more dangerous.
Yeah, right. I hope you pulled over and set
did.
the... Okay. All right.
I waited until I think I had like lunch or I had to fill up with gas, and then I set
the
all
camera up. Yeah, there you
but
go.
I still had to press the go button. And it's quite a big reach. I was like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
So maybe we wouldn't do that again.
In my car.
It's so much worse when you say it like that. Yes. And then, yeah. Oh, and I did like a little 5-minute walk around video of like
that did well last year. I think people really liked that.
And I hope it gives a bit of an experience of like, this is what it looks like.
It definitely shows kind of what that big open gaming area is like.
And I went through a bit more detail of like the games library.
Yeah.
It's massive. And
Yeah.
you can really play anything you want there. So
well, and frankly, you know, we played a game with Ed Beach. We didn't do a video with Ed Beach. I regret that. I think had I not felt bad that night, I think we would have done a video.
Absolutely.
Potentially with him either the next day or that night.
he would have had no choice.
He would have had no choice. Chris Moeller, one of our friends who's a designer with his Bernie banners, had a family emergency. He couldn't come.
We probably would have sat down on video with Mark Mikolos at some point.
We were going to play a game with him. We would have done a video with him. We probably would have found Ray Farrell, who was there, and done a video, probably talking about Time of Crisis.
John Butterfield was there.
I said hi to John Butterfield. He didn't kill me because I know we didn't give a glowing review to Enemy Action Kharkov, but I think he wanted to choke me. I could see in his eyes. It was like a force choke type thing. John's a great guy, really nice guy. There were a couple others that I think we would have sat down with.
There's plenty of designers there. Yeah.
But unfortunately, because I wasn't there, it probably threw you off a little bit.
Yes.
And
it was.
We got some videos, but last year I think we had 15 videos. This year we have more like 5. And that's fine. We've got believe me, we've got probably a half a dozen or a dozen videos that we need to, at least a dozen videos.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And we've got 8 or 10 or 12 that are scheduled. So we've got a lot of content coming up. We're getting ready to start our Guns of August event as well.
Yes.
We have 4 games that we're going to play, but I look forward to WBC. We're not going to go next year unless I can figure out how to go by myself.
Yeah, I won't be
which
there.
I will not rule that out, particularly if Mike Heckman's going to go.
If the two of you he's definitely going.
Yeah,
and he was like, I will take him.
I'll figure out how to get over. I'm just worried about driving 6 hours by myself. I can do it, but man, that's going to be long.
But maybe if he comes here,
well, maybe he can fly
together.
into Indy and we can drive together. That might be fun. We'll see. Or maybe I'll even fly. Who knows?
Because I don't want you to miss out just
Well,
because I'm not there. And I get
you have a family reunion.
Yeah.
I get it. We will go to Gen Con next year, though, I think, right? Won't you be back at least for 1 or 2 days? We got to at least go one day.
I don't know if I will be.
You jerk.
It is genuinely like the worst time.
Yeah. Well,
but as a result, we're definitely doing like Buckeye Game Fest.
Oh, yeah.
And like other things.
Yeah. But I now that I think about it, I think I'm going to try to go next year. I will talk to Mike and we'll figure it out.
You'll have a grand old time, that's for sure.
Either maybe he can fly into Indy and we can go together, or I can maybe even fly, I assume Pittsburgh is where he flies into.
He flies, so it's somewhere.
Pittsburgh, and then it's like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive from there. So maybe we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
And I'll just have to take the camera and learn how to do it all by myself. And then I can say, hey, I did it by myself. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was WBC. I don't think we're going to talk about it more.
No, there's like a whole hour of like
videos
going to do that, so go and enjoy that.
So what else did we play this month?
I played, once again,
Rally the Troops.
on Rally the Troops. So I've played a lot of Andy and Abyss.
And you shot 4
Yes.
faction videos on each of the 4 factions in Andy and Abyss, kind of giving an overview and
a big part of that is because I played so much of it on there. I feel more confident in like saying, hey, these are the things to watch out for, right? And so this is the first of the coin games. If you've never played it, it's very, very good.
Excellent.
I would highly recommend checking it out.
Ironically, I think we played this like 7th or 8th.
Oh yeah, this is...
And because we finally got a 2nd edition copy, and I was like, damn, that was good.
Well, it's like, and this is the one that started it all.
Yeah,
and having played all of the later ones, and then playing this kind of like
the Genesis,
you're like, oh yeah,
very cool.
Oh yeah,
so that's a good one. That's a good one.
So I played a bunch of that on there. They also released a mod for the Field of the Cloth of Gold from Hollenspiel, and
kind of an abstract, different style game.
Yeah. So
aren't you inviting people to a party, basically?
I don't even remember. You're like, it's the King of England and the King of France, and you're giving each other gifts, and it's not about how many gifts you get, but it kind of is. You want to be the most magnanimous, so you're giving all these gifts. But you score points off of like different types of gifts and different sets.
I would like that.
But the further you go down this track, it changes the value of the gifts. Of when you score them, and it's these like 5 or 6 spaces, and you're like, if I move here, it allows him to do this, which forces him to give me this so that I can score on this. It is so
kind of cool.
Abstract and
how many players?
2. It is a 2-player
just 2 players.
Yep.
Well, why won't we play this?
At some point we will.
Yeah, we can actually play the game itself.
But yeah, I've played a few games of this, and I'm in a few more, and I've won it once.
Okay, well, if winning games was a prerequisite for enjoying games, I don't think I'd ever enjoy games then.
I have no idea what I'm doing in it, but
that's cool.
I think about my moves and I do them, and then they do other things. I'm like,
oh, okay.
These people are much smarter than me. Also on there, I've played a lot of Time of Crisis.
Yep.
So I played a lot of regular Time of Crisis, and I think probably in the last couple of weeks, as a lot of new players have started to be like, okay, let's do the expansion, because they have the expansion on Rally the Troops as well, and so adding that in opens up a lot more doors. And I play it with the like the full fixed, so it's got everything, because there's setups where you have like it's random.
Yeah.
So you have 9 cards instead of like 18. And having all of them available is great.
It's fun.
It's just a choice. You get a bit of everything.
Well, and like with mini games, there's certain combinations that I enjoy, certain cards that I will get as soon as I can. Spiculum's one of those.
Yeah.
And that's a third. I think it's a third.
That's a 4.
A 4 card. Yeah. So you're not going to get that probably until the 3rd or 4th round at the earliest.
Which is basically late game.
Yeah, and that's kind of late game. But when you get 1 or 2 of those in your deck, holy crap!
Yeah, if you've got those and a force march, you're like bam, 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 bam.
You're like a Roman evisceration machine or something. Great game.
I keep trying to use the Praetorian Guard in this.
That's hard to use.
His thing, this is not a slight on the people that I play with. I've never been able to, because I always buy it, but I always retain the Emperor.
Yeah, right.
Or I can never get it when I need to use it.
That's the one where you can basically betray whoever's the sitting emperor.
Yeah, you place governor action with military power instead of Senate power.
And it's cool, yeah.
But yeah,
great game.
It either like screws me or I've just like never got to use it.
And if you don't know much about Time of Crisis, there is a deluxe edition version coming out, added to the P500 a couple of months ago. It has some new improvements, some new cards. Looking forward to it.
If you've got 4 players, it's one of my favorite games.
Well, it's because it's simple, interesting, engaging, and very strategic. I mean, you got to be on top of it, or you're not going to
without being complicated.
No, it's not very. I will disagree. Sometimes the deck building concept can be a little complex.
Sure,
you kind of forget. Oh, when can I buy this card? Or how can I buy this card?
I'm at a point now though where
you're comfortable with it because you're playing it all the time.
And so once you get to that point, after a couple plays, you're like, great. Well, you don't. I don't think about the maths of it anymore, and it's like, okay, let's go.
Boom, boom, boom. Are you playing those async, or are you playing them?
Those are async, yes.
Okay.
Because most of the stuff's async. The other thing is I'm in 2 games of Pax Pamir at the moment.
That's a great game.
I have.
Is this the one that Ollie knocked down the stairs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I got this, and
brand spanking new. It's beautiful.
Day frickin' one whilst it was still on the shrink. Here it is. Right here. I had it on. It was
like on a desk or a cabinet or something.
It was on the ledge just at the top of the stairs.
Okay.
Because I was gonna take it down to the basement, and my son, who was like 6 at the time, thought it'd be funny. He didn't really better to like knock it off, and so it fell
landed.
and it went right onto the corner of the stairs.
I remember I cried a little for you, and it's not even my
because
game.
we've been looking forward to this for so
such
long.
a good game.
And it's a beautiful package, and I was like, you know what?
Great.
I don't know what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So great, but yeah, a couple games of that, loving that. Still no idea what I'm doing in it. Still not very good at it, but I'm enjoying it.
Well, here, let me talk about while you get your next one. So I've been playing Cruel Necessity solo. I've played one full game, and what I mean by a full game is to the point where I died. Right? I'm not very good at it. It's very challenging, but it's a Solitaire States of Siege series game. But it has the coolest tactical battle system, and I just love it. I want to get into a fight every time just so I can do the fighting. But I played this probably thrice, and not even come close to winning.
No, famously, because I played the first edition of this. This is the new deluxe one from Worthington, which is really nice.
So good.
You couldn't win it before either.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't even care. I'm just like, oh, look, I got Parliament like close to where I needed it, and then ooh, I held off this army, and the other one, bum rushed me. But it's just really challenging, and when you lose these tactical battles, it's incredibly bad for you.
Very bad.
Especially if you lose them badly, and I've lost several badly.
Would you agree with
it's
this
a great
statement?
Game.
I feel like this is one of like the bigger States of Siege games.
Oh,
in
no
that
doubt.
It's got most stuff going on.
There are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of different tracks. I would say this is possibly one of the most complex.
And I really like that.
I do too.
I like that there's a lot of meat to this.
I also enjoy the little ones that are a lot simpler and they're faster. But this is a great game. It's absolutely a great game. So I will do a video and a playthrough for this. The playthrough will probably be a 30-minute video and it'll be over very quickly. Yeah. And that's okay. But great game. You have a copy of it as well. So.
Oh, we didn't talk about Border Ravers.
Oh, yeah.
We played Border Ravers at WBC.
Yeah, this is one we played together at WBC, so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we're going to play this at the end of the month with Russ Wetley from Cardboard Conflicts, Jordan, I believe, and potentially...
Is Jacob coming as well?
Jacob, so that'll be 5, so we got to figure something out.
We got to get a 6th for that.
We got to talk about that.
It's either 4 or 6.
But we're also, and we're getting into stuff we're playing. I'm sorry, I jumped the board, but we're also going to do Ancient Civilizations of the Middle East. Because it's a light Civ building card game. But we played this one at WBC with Ed Beach.
Yeah, he taught us. We played a full round or a full turn of it, which is 2 effective rounds.
Then I got sick and had to leave. But
really unique game.
So
very cool.
Not a war game.
Not a Euro game.
Not quite a Euro game, but has a lot of Euro-esque mechanics. Just very fascinating. Historically cool. Such a very, the Scottish... English border and these lords just fighting over sheep and cattle. I mean,
and it was so unruly, almost like a no man's land where they're
very cool.
Just raiding each other and taking their
and it has little sheeples and little horse meeples and it's just a very cool game. Lots of dice. You're going to roll 3 to 7 dice in a combat or in a raid. It's just very fun. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. The hour and a half we did it, I had a great time.
Yeah, I would definitely want to do more of this, that's for sure. But it was really cool to play and to kind of like...
Yep.
I feel like everyone was tried to do different things in it, which was really neat. There's a lot you can do.
Unfortunately, I was never able to get to attack one of the armies. I kind of messed up on that. But
well, you were doing lots of sheep raiding.
I was trying it out.
I tried to fight in one of the armies... And it was like those do very different things.
They do.
They have very different knock-on consequences, and it was cool to see some of that. People were trying to do someone tried to do a jailbreak.
I never tried one of those. Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of moving parts in that game. That's for sure. A little neat game. So yes, we will also. So moving on to games that we're gonna play in August.
So was that everything that we've played?
Yeah, that was everything that I played. At least.
So let's start with our Guns of August event.
Sure.
We're actually going to play one of those tonight.
Yes.
We're going to play Verdun 1916 Steel Inferno from Fellowship of Simulation.
So yeah, we're going to do a Guns of August event.
A mini Guns of August, not 6 months.
Comparatively.
Yeah, comparatively.
And we decided, like, these few, like I think 4 titles
Yeah,
that we came up
four
with.
games.
So today, as soon as we're done with this, well, tonight, we're going to play Verdun 1916 Steel Inferno from Fellowship of Simulations.
And it's like a 3-hour game.
Yeah, I think.
1 to 4 hours.
And
So for us, 4 hours.
this comes very well regarded.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of very, very good reviews for it.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of anticipation for this game. I did an unboxing for it. I've kind of nosed through the rules. It looks very cool. Not particularly complex.
Got it. And it uses cards and looks
And it's all
really cool.
areas.
Yeah.
You've got units that are the wooden pieces, and they're either standing up ready or they're lying down exhausted. And you also have separate trench pieces as well.
Okay.
And the front lines are going to shift as you take areas and things like that.
Yeah, this is a game that's been recommended by a lot of different people. Volko Runke loves it. I actually am quite impressed with Fellowship of Simulations. They are a small French company. Philippe Hardy, I think, is if I'm not mistaken, he's the owner. I'm not sure he designed this.
box.
Walter Vodovsky. But we've played Wars of Religion, this game, and then I have a Napoleonics.
Conquest of Napoleon.
Yeah, that game looks so fascinating. We got to play that sometime too. But this will be the first game in our mini 4-game, well, 4+, because we're each going to play a solitaire game or 2.
Yeah, so that we're definitely playing this one this month.
Yep. I'll leave this kind of over here to the side.
We also have, as part of that event, Death of an Army, Ypres 1914. From Wipers from Revolution Games.
Ypres.
Did we decide this was a 2023?
I swear it came out at the beginning of the year, but maybe it didn't.
I feel like you're right, but time is also an illusion.
I'll look it up, yeah.
But yeah, this is a game that I got from Noble Knight, and they...
Really cool looking game.
I
think.
Yeah,
It surely has a date on it.
And it's one of those secretly big games, I think.
Got it.
I think it's what grand game.
It says 2022, but that doesn't mean anything, right? That's just when they printed it.
Yeah,
I swear it came out at the beginning of the year.
And it could have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one that...
While you're talking, I'll look.
Yeah, so we got 1914. And yeah, I'm just interested in it because I also really like Revolution Games as a company.
They're a great little company.
They have lots of interesting games, and I think that all of the games that we've played of theirs have been good.
Yep.
They don't, those smaller companies can't really afford to put out stinkers. And so these guys, I think, do their research, work with good designers, and have put out what looks to be a very cool looking game.
So it says 2022, but I feel like it was like early this year.
Rewriting history right here at theplayersaid.com.
So those are 2. We have 2 more that we're definitely going to play.
So yeah, next one is The Big Bad Boy. So this is Nach Paris, 1914 from VUCA Simulations.
This is such a gorgeous looking
This is
game.
also huge. This is a monster game.
It's huge, but it also has several smaller scenarios. My guess is we're going to end up playing several of the smaller to kind of get familiar with it before we potentially dive into the...
This box has 4 map sheets and 1,300 counters in it.
Yeah, it's a big game.
Like, this can be a massive monster game, or you can do smaller scenarios in it.
And I think they're pre-rounded counters, if I remember correctly.
Based on their other games, I would be surprised if they weren't. Yeah, VUCA does some really tip-top games that we've played of theirs.
Well, Donnerschlag, Traces of War.
Yeah.
I mean, there's games that we've loved, and this one, I see no reason why this game won't be. It uses 20-siders.
And they have their, like, linen-finished kind of
funky
papery
canvas-style
maps. There's a lot of stuff in here. Big box.
You need to unbox this one. I never got around to unboxing it.
I'll do that. But yeah, we're going to do that one. And then the last one that's a big 2-player game, we're going to try and have a go at Death in the Trenches from Compass Games. This one did come out this year, surely.
No, it was last year. Yeah,
well,
it was last year. I got it on Kickstarter. It's by R. Ben Madison and Wes Ernie, so both of them. Very cool looking game, really some different mechanics, and I'm very fascinated by it.
This is...
Beautiful game, too.
A phrase you'll hear later on. This is a grand tactical game.
Yes.
This is a big, massive European theatre versus hex and counter, where you're counting out your movement points and doing your fights. The one thing I've heard about this game is about the combat system, and it sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, it does.
Where you're going to roll a certain number of dice, and if you get more hits than you have strength points, you do nothing.
Yeah.
But
So there's a risk.
there's which I hope helps to keep it a game where you're like,
Sure.
you'll get some cool, crazy things that happen, or like your attack just kind of like offensive fails. And
Yeah.
you go, oh, no.
Pretty interesting.
So yeah, I'm very curious about that one too. I think those are like
the
big
4
two-player.
main ones. Yeah.
So this is the event. Anything else that you see extra? Get out of here with that. We've bought more.
Well, I bought World War I Axis and Allies last week at Gen Con.
Just put in an order for Eagles of Glory.
Eagles in the Sky, which is a World War I aerial dogfighting game. We bought Dogfight from PSC Games at Gen Con. We'll probably play that one because it'll take 20 minutes
to play.
But we also have Aces of Valor, which is a solo game. I have a copy. Mine's clipped and ready to go. I also may try to play
Mine
that
is also clipped and ready to go.
this month.
So this one I will most assuredly play solo at some point this month.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a few missions. I don't know if I'll get to our whole campaign, although I'd like to. So I'll definitely do that.
And then you have Kaiser's Pirates.
I also have Kaiser's Pirates, which I bought this at Gen Con last year from Games Plus, and it has a solo mode in it, which I kind of want to try.
Sure.
It has multiplayer option in it, but I also don't want to like have this drag into December. And so I'm going to play this solo. And
Sure.
if it's worth it, then I would recommend if we would do it 2-player.
But we will do a Guns of August event video, very similar to what we did last time, where we'll talk about the 5 or 6 titles that we end up playing. Not 15. And then we'll do individual videos for each of the games that we play. So you'll see over the next several months multiple World War I games coming out.
Yeah, but
from
based
us.
on what we've got on the docket, I don't know if we're going to play all of that in August. Some
It might
of it will be September, most
we only
likely.
have like 3 weeks left in August.
That's
I already mentioned this, but we're going to play Border Ravers and Ancient Civilizations of the Middle East, both from GMT Games. Very excited. Looking forward to that.
I will also
Don't
play.
fall off.
Wow.
Well, didn't you want to talk about this?
Oh, it's right
as
here.
well?
I was looking for it. I will play. I already have played it.
Yeah.
Bismarck Solitaire Deluxe Edition. Bismarck Solitaire from Worthington was a book game that they released during a pandemic, and this is the boxed version of it, which I didn't know, but they had designed it as a board game and then turned it into a book.
Oh, I didn't know that
and now
either.
it's back to a board game.
Okay. I think that, if I remember correctly, I think it was because of the difficulty with the
It's exactly
supply chain.
Yep.
They decided to go ahead and make it a booklet game, and then that spawned kind of 3 or 4 booklet games.
They got
and
smaller
now
than
they're
that now. Yeah, they got like 6 or 7.
coming back and kind of doing.
And I know they're doing the Waterloo one that they did. They're making a deluxe version of that, which
Nice.
I'm interested in too. So
They have great little games. They're well produced and look good. And
I've already played that, but I'll play that in
Yeah.
August. I will play more Andean Abyss. I will play more Pax Pamir. I will play more Field of the Cloth of Gold. I will play more Time of Crisis. That will never stop. Hopefully they release a new game this month.
Yeah.
And I will probably try that too.
well, and I think we already mention it, but we're going to play with Mark Miklos online on Vassal and Discord. Savannah,
Yes.
one of the games in the Battles of the American Revolution from GMT Games.
Yeah, we were supposed to do that at WBC.
WBC.
Didn't happen, so we're going to do
doing that at the end of the month on a
Online.
Sunday.
a slightly different flavor, but I will also be playing this. This is something that I'm doing in my spare time. I'm solving murders. This is a little deduction, mystery, choose your own adventure style game that I'm just playing solitaire in the evenings. So that when Kelly's like, what the hell are you doing with all that stuff? I can go, I'm solving a murder. It's a fun little system and a series. I've got a few of them, and I just play them every so often. And I think we are also...
Yeah, we're going to start up a Hackmaster 5th edition campaign.
Our brother-in-law Brum, he is starting a new table of Hackmaster 5th edition. I have never played this system.
I played it, but
And,
it was like 2nd or 3rd edition.
So we bought the rule book. I have been reading this. It is very different, but in a very old school, crunchy kind of way.
Well, I think it's very combat heavy as well.
Well, I think the combat system is like
Very
what's
involved.
very new
Yeah.
to it, because there's no turns.
Yeah.
It's all done.
And you take wounds, and those wounds are like a 5 hit point wound, and you've got to heal that wound. You don't heal like all your hit points, so it's unique and different.
Yeah,
and
that part I think.
yeah, I'm
does
not sure
look
I
very
fully
cool.
understand it, but it's kind of unique.
So yeah,
And ironically, in a game that's kind of combat heavy, I'm playing a halfling assassin. I've decided that I want to play that. I don't know why, but
I'm going to be a pixie fairy mage,
Yeah.
so I'm going to be a little Tinkerbell flying around shooting spells.
Yeah. If you want to rest on my shoulder, you can rest on my shoulder sometime.
I was already texting him like, can I start with a familiar?
Ah.
And things like that. So
And I'm probably going to be evil. I hate to say it, but
it doesn't bother me.
I'm probably going to be evil, but I don't like playing evil guys. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, as long as it fits in the party.
Well, it'll fit in the party because I'm not going to do something that because I want to be a
total
member.
jerk.
Yeah, I'm not a total scumbag.
Yeah,
I thought about lawful evil, with some morals.
Yeah, it's your own code.
Yeah, right.
But it might not be.
It might mean that I can kill
particularly
you for no
nice.
reason, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited to do that because it's a new system. Experiencing something new in RPGs is always fun.
We like role-playing games,
Yeah.
so
I think, is that everything that we're going to
I think that's
play?
everything we're going to play. I
Within
think that's
reason.
everything we've talked about playing.
I feel like that's the case.
For sure. I'm going to drop those down there.
There's probably like 10 trillion Kickstarters out
Well,
there.
I actually pulled mine
Okay,
up.
nice.
There were 3 that I was interested in that I included in my Wargame Watch. It's just going to take a moment while it refreshes, and for some reason my internet down here doesn't respond as quickly as I want. We are in the bunker.
It is the bunker.
It is the bunker. So there were 3. Well, come on, Alexander, talk or something. Sing a song.
So outside of what he's about to talk about,
something.
I have D-Day Dice, which is that all charged, and they're like nearing end of production on that, or like in the middle of production.
Yeah,
so
I think that
hopefully
looks
we'll get
fun.
that at some point. And then I think also the Dune game from Simon.
War for Arrakis.
That they hopefully will get. I'd love to get it by the end of the year, but at Gen Con they had all of the proofs painted
saw
and
that,
stuff.
yeah,
it
it
looked
looked
so
really
good. I'm
So
really
that is a
excited
game
for
that's
that.
kind of in the same mold as War of the Ring, right?
Yes.
From
That's from Ares Games.
Ares Games, yeah, kind of in that same mold.
Yeah, like it's a big
Two-player,
two-player
yeah.
war game.
So Kickstarters, the first that I found was Silent War 2.0 from Compass Games. So that is Silent War and Imperial Japanese Navy Deluxe Second Edition. Solo games. So I've heard a lot of good things about it. It looks
I owned
very...
the first edition at one point, and then I sold it.
Okay.
Because it was so big.
Got
if
it.
you do like the big campaign thing, it's so much to
huge.
manage. So hopefully in the second edition it's a bit... Because that was their first ever game as Compass Games.
Got it.
So
Got
they've
it.
come along.
Oh, I
with
didn't know
since
that.
then.
I didn't know that. The second one I found was on GameFound, so not a Kickstarter. It's called War of the Three Sanchos, 1065 to 67, by Surprise Stare Games. Never heard of it. Never heard of them. This is a pocket. It's called Pocket Campaign, so it's a small box, small games. But this Three Sanchos is based on El Cid, the Almoravid kind of timeline. Looks very cool. I backed this one. I didn't tell you about that. But I added a couple of the add-on games. There was one like on the Ming Voyages in China, and there was another one I can't remember, but they were $12.
And are those like previous ones that they'd released?
Yeah,
that you
like
can just kind of
yep.
add
So,
in?
so I think all told, the 3 games that I can get is $44. So it's a very affordable. Looks very interesting too. I thought it was pretty cool. Vento Nuovo Games has a current Kickstarter. I think it's almost done. So if you're interested, get out now. But Blitz in the East, the Russian Front, it is not a block war game.
Because all the previous ones,
Almost every one of their games have been block war games. So this is and it uses a new combat system, kind of a new approach. Emmanuel Santandrea is the designer, and I think it looks really, really interesting. So those were the 3 Kickstarters that I found. I'm sure there's others out there, but I backed one of those.
Yes.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yes. So, yeah, check those out and probably try to be timely about it.
Yeah,
who
'cause
knows when this video is coming out.
They're ending pretty quickly, I think, most of them.
But now, a quick word from our sponsor, Noble Knight Games. Very grateful for Noble Knight Games for sponsoring us. They
it allows us to do a lot of different things. Right?
Yeah, and even this year, like new camera stand. We had the camera mount in the car.
Yep.
Like their sponsorship allows us to be able to get those things, so it's a bit more practical for us.
And you might think those things, oh, those are, but some of those things cost. I mean, the mics we bought like last year, which have been absolute godsends, they were pretty expensive.
Yep.
They're wireless, but they're really nice. And, you know, unfortunately, this is not our full-time gig.
No.
We have families. I'm trying to save for college for my 2 daughters. I just finished helping with college with my 3 older kids. I don't have money to drop on. So one of the things I really like about Noble Knight is they're not a publisher. They're a wholesaler, right? So we've got games from them from every publisher.
Yes.
And hard to find games, out of print games. We just ordered the one we mentioned, Eagles in the
Eagles in the
Sky.
Sky.
But I will say this, we are going in September.
Yes.
We are going to make a trek up to Fitchburg, Wisconsin. It's about a 6-hour drive, didn't we? So another 6-hour drive. And we've talked about, we definitely want to do 1 or 2 videos going up and 1 or 2 videos. So we're going to try to come up with some new topics and themes and approach those. But the goal is to go up, meet with them, do an interview with them, talk about their operation, maybe get a tour of the warehouse, which is full of games upon games, and then just play some games.
Yeah, because they've got a space to do that, and you know, we're also going to take a carload of games.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's
games we're going to trade in for credit, and then try to get other games that we want to play.
And they do more than just like buy and sell your old games. They also have like new releases. They're like a regular kind of.
So that Eagles in the Sky, brand new release. We were able to get it from Noble Knight.
And it's funny. I text you about this. I almost bought that at WBC.
I think you mentioned that, yeah.
And I was looking at it, and everyone was like, you should do it. I'm like, it was expensive.
Yeah.
And also, the back of the box did not have a picture of like the board or the game.
Got it.
And so I was like, ooh.
What's it
but I was
like?
It's a World War I aerial tactical game. Are we actually going to play this? And then 2 weeks later, you text me and like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Buying it from Noble Knight, brand new.
$45
and shipped. No, it was
more than that.
Yeah, but it was still cheaper than buying it.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, all right, that's fair.
Yeah, they have good deals. I think the other thing, they have dice and miniatures and role-playing games and
they have
a little bit of everything.
They have books.
Yeah,
they have paint.
a little bit of everything.
All the stuff.
So I'm looking forward to it. I know I've already been reached out to by at least a couple of individuals that probably will come down. We've got to decide maybe 2 or 3 games that we're going to play. I'd love to do a Time of Crisis.
Yeah, I think that's an easy one to take and do.
You know, maybe think of another larger multiplayer game that we can play in 2 or 3 hours, but that way we can play some different games with folks. Maybe
just like
do some different things
see
and kind of go from there.
Meet those people and like.
And we're going to go up on a Friday morning, play games that evening, and do the interviews and the tour, and then Saturday play games. I think we're going to leave around 4 and drive home and get home probably at 11:30 at night. So that'll be interesting. But looking forward to that. I think that's something we both said, hey, that'll be fun to try out.
Yeah.
And Dan Leader was very, that's his name, right?
Yes.
Very interested in us coming up. So we're going to do it.
Yep.
It's already on the schedule.
I'm really excited. Yeah, hotel's booked. We're going. No. I
So
already booked the time
very
off
much
work.
looking forward to that. So when we show you games or we review games, give them a shot because they have generally pretty good prices and they have a lot of different out of print games that you're not going to be able to find.
And the prices are even better when you trade in your old games.
Well, it's true. It's true. And sometimes they have sales where they want your games and they'll say, I want ASL. And they'll pay you more, kind of a bounty, to get those things.
Bounty, I like that.
Yeah, right.
That's
That's
really
kind of
good.
what it
I hadn't
is,
thought
right?
about that. That's great.
But hey, I want the ASL starter kit #1, and they'll pay you 2 times what they normally would pay. You know, that kind of thing. You can get it in credit, or you can also get it in dollars. You're going to get more in credit.
Yes.
But yeah, we're going to take a truckload of games because my wife has threatened for about 1.5 years, 2 years now that she was going to burn some things down. And, you know, we're all collectors. There's some games that I know we're never going to get to again, or we played, I didn't enjoy that much. I've got some Euro games I'm going to get rid of.
We could take a U-Haul and still
Well,
have so many games left.
Between what's over there, that's about 30 games. I've got at least 30 at home. We may have to rent a U-Haul.
And it didn't make a dent in my shelves.
No, I think I did clean out one cubby on the secondary war game shelf.
I've probably cleaned out the equivalent of 2, but also I
crazy.
had just bought that much at WBC.
You got some good games over there.
Yeah, but it's games. Some of it's like you have.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, it's true.
That's part of. I've tried to be ruthless with my collection.
Yeah. But you got a lot of good games.
But the size of my car only allows me to get rid of so many.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our plans. Thanks to Noble Knight for being our sponsor. We appreciate it.
So on to the topic of today's debrief.
I'm excited about this topic.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure it's going to go well, but I'm still excited about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of our recent topics have been really, really good with diceless war games and card-driven games, and we did another one that was pretty interesting. We need to do one on chit pool because we love chit pool.
Yes.
That's But today, go ahead.
So today we are going
Those
to.
seem to be-
Let me get rid of
rid of
this.
those.
Get rid of this.
We need to bring some of the topical games up.
Today we're going to talk about grand strategic games. And we had a bit of a discussion about what makes a grand strategic game and where do you draw lines on that kind of a thing.
And I think we made some choices here, right?
Yeah.
We decided, okay, this meets maybe not the strict criteria, but it meets a good amount of the criteria. And so we added some of those. We had some disagreement, and that's fine.
And I think we didn't really end up with like a super rigid definition necessarily.
Well, to me, when I think of grand strategic, it has got to cover every aspect of a war, right?
At least a significant number of different
It's
things.
got to have some kind of political stuff, in my opinion, whether that's politicking over control of territories to annex them or to influence them so you can move troops in. It's got to have some kind of economic consideration, whether that's how you get your funds to build units, rebuild units, pay for new, there's got to be something like that in there. There's also got to be, in my opinion, some of those overall strategic concepts like convoys or strategic bombing or, I think of a game like Empire of the Sun, which we did not include on this list. One of the things I really like about that game is the political will in America. I also really enjoy the inter-service rivalry concept.
Yes.
To me, those are grand strategic concepts. I also really enjoy the Burma Railway and how that connects areas. And
it has those strategic elements, but I think a majority of the gameplay in that ends up being more tactical.
You're right.
And so we talked about what's a grand tactical
So we
game.
felt like that. Yep.
That one, we won't make the discussion today, but if someone wanted to include that, it's totally valid.
Sure.
I'm not here to tell you you're wrong about that.
And I think that's some of these, I think we had a little bit of a disagreement. We're like, okay, maybe that's not one, but you know what? I think it is, so let's throw it in.
Yeah, and so
and that's okay.
What you will notice is a lot of these games are at a very high level. You're not worried about like the composition of your forces.
There's no tactical combined arms.
Or like there is,
benefits.
but it's like
Abstracted.
It's like is there airplanes and is there tanks?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I need to have all of my formations of the same type with a commander and an artillery support piece. Like none of these games are quite like that.
I think the other thing I would say, typically, you mentioned big scale, really zoomed out. I think counter density or unit density isn't always as, like I think of one that we talked about including, but I think we decided was grand tactical, is unconditional surrender.
Sure.
The East Front has each side has 13 counters, right? It's not the lines of counters.
No, if you play that at an operational level, you've got
lines of counters. Yeah, but it's to me it's kind of a little less counter dense or block dense or unit dense. It's just not.
Typically, that's how these end up.
Once again, trying to spitball this and say, here's kind of 3 or 4 criteria that I think need to be included in some. Is there anything else that I'm kind of missing?
No, and The only thing that I would say is the form that resources and politics take in that game
Can be wildly
is
different.
less important than their presence.
Yeah, they've got
have
to- yep.
you have to some element of
Yeah, there's got to be some, whether it's on cards or
because you're making the decisions of like, where
Yeah.
do I commit my resources?
Yep.
How do I protect those?
Yep.
And also prosecute this war?
Yeah.
Rather than like, I send my men into the bush and they need to lay down fire into that building. That's not what we're doing with
Yeah.
these games.
Well, I think a lot of the games that are on this list also, I think of these two. I'm not going to mention them until we talk about them. But it's a lot about if you control these number of factories or this number of cities, you gain more resource points.
Yes.
And to me, that's a huge part of
Yeah.
grand strategic.
A lot of these games have some form of like build points in some form or fashion.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's some kind of an economy in a lot of these.
And once again, I think the caveat that I want to say, some of these are wildly different, and we're kind of maybe stretching the parameters of what a grand strategic
Maybe.
game is.
I don't think
But,
they are, though.
Yeah, well, some people are going to say, "Oh, Grant, that's not," and you know what? That's okay.
Put it in the comments.
So let's start.
Let's start with the classic. Let's
Okay,
start with
yeah,
the classic.
let's start with the
We're gonna
classic.
start with the classic.
I think the first game that you can imagine that all of us have played in one iteration or another.
And that everyone asks us about
Yeah,
when I tell people
all the time.
oh, we play historical war games.
You mean this?
They're like, oh, Axis and Allies?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I think to me, this is the quintessential grand strategic game concept,
Yes,
right?
it's like this or like Risk, but Risk
Oh,
isn't.
the box is upside down. What in the hell? Did you mess with this?
No.
You're
But when was the
lying.
last time you played this?
The last time I played this was with you in like 2013.
That box has been upside down for
For
13
years.
years.
Wow, maybe I've changed. Anyway, this is Axis and Allies revised. So this is kind of like a second or a third edition. This was the first edition after the base game, and this may be like the second or third printing of that. But they added cruisers, they added artillery, and it's just there's a lot of additions to it.
Does this have the technology in it as well?
It does. It has the tech track where you spend an IPC and you roll a six-sider, and you got to get a six.
Did I get my double bombers?
And it's very hard to do those, but that to me is a concept that is included in the economy of the grand strategic game, right? You also have that strategic bombing. You also have the wolf packs, where you're going out and you're sinking ships, and it just all adds together to build that economy. The economy is based around the industrial production capacity, or IPC. Each country has a certain amount, and it's based on the amount of territories that you control, right? As Germany expands, their IPCs go from, I think they start like at 36 or 38, and you can get them up to 45, 46, and then it kind of starts to contract a little bit unless you take over capitals.
But like that's when you think about the game, your goals are strategic goals.
Yes.
Your goals are to take capitals,
Yep.
or to take enough factories so that you can then take capitals.
Right.
That's what
Yeah,
your
build more
very
units.
lofty strategic goals
Yeah.
in this. Here's my armies. Here's my navies. You're not down in the weeds of any of this.
No.
You have entire regions and lots of countries lumped together in large areas because you're not worried about the small level stuff.
Yep.
And everyone's played some iteration of this who's
Oh,
watching
yeah.
this most likely.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, do yourself a favor and just get some friends together because it's a fun
Well,
game.
it's this is called an Ameritrash game, right? Because you're rolling a bunch of dice, and it's fairly rules light. It's an area movement game. You're moving from area to area. There's no terrain, right? There's no terrain benefit. There's
No, there's land and there's water.
Yeah, there's not really even supply rules necessarily. You just move and fight, move and fight, move and fight. And I've always enjoyed it. I've played, me and my brother had the first original Hasbro Game Master series. We also had Fortress America and Conquest of the Empire. Very cool games. I've always enjoyed Axis and Allies. Now, is this the kind of game now that I want to play often? Probably not. But
I still have a copy of it too, though.
it's fun. It's light, and I think it's a good representation of what a grand strategic game is.
Yes.
This is global, right? It's everything.
Yes.
You can even go down into South America if you really want.
I don't know why you would. But
Well,
you can.
there's a couple. Brazil's like
you
a
can have one factory down there.
3 IPC place, and yeah, it's not really worth anything. Or controlling the Panama Canal makes it so America can't freely move stuff back and forth. But really cool game. I like it.
Yes.
I've always enjoyed Axis and Allies. This is my favorite edition because I enjoy the cruisers and the. Is it called cruisers? I think they're called cruisers.
Yeah. So I have
Fighters.
this, but it's
Destroyers.
a later version of it. I think
Got it.
It's 1942.
Okay.
But it whatever iteration of this company that released it at the time.
And this says Avalon Hill. I know that Avalon Hill just sold the rights to.
But it also says Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, right.
That's the parent.
I'm not really sure, but they just sold the rights, I believe, to Renegade.
That's correct.
Games.
Because your 1914 says Renegade on
the
the
World
box.
War I I just bought. It's Renegade Studios. So I think this is probably one of the first games that everybody thinks about when you're talking about grand strategic.
Yes, agree.
And I would never argue with that. And I would never argue that it's a good game. I've enjoyed it. In my life, I've enjoyed it.
Yes. So,
Let's do the Pericles and
sure.
Churchill, maybe.
You got Churchill right there.
Yeah, so let's kind of
So
pair
we're going to
these,
talk about these
together.
These Pericles and Churchill. These are from the Great Statesman series, and sure, half of this game is about like the internal or external political struggle between allies or an allied, factions within a country. So that's half the game. But then the other half is this grand strategic war game, where all of those debates that you've had over certain issues, those issues are for things like strategic materials or for army placement.
Artillery support.
Or in this one, it's getting allies on board, building units, moving those around, doing diplomacy, conducting war.
Creating colonies and annexing areas. All those things are
or
involved.
declaring war, or making
you
peace
you can't
entirely.
attack each other until you've declared war in either of these, right?
Yeah, what?
Because you can't attack the Japanese until you've declared war on them.
Do you start a war with these ones?
Maybe you do. I'm
don't
forgetting.
remember.
It's been a while.
But
You start at war with Germany,
sure.
obviously.
But so these grand strategic games that you might not, when you say, oh, grand strategic games, a lot of people think of something that looks like Axis and Allies, but something that looks like
or
these.
Hex and Counter, typically.
Yeah, but it's like these are Churchill much more abstract with the way that the war works, but it is a grand strategic game.
Well, because you're looking at things on a global level.
Yeah, pumping those resources in to be able to move those tracks forward, but you're also influencing diplomacy and your partisans in the other countries to gain those to your side as well.
And you've got technology, particularly, you're trying to develop the atom bomb. You're trying to gain certain bases by taking over areas so then you can use the atom bomb, right? So those to me are grand strategic concepts that you've got goals that are bigger than just, I'm going to take that area,
Yes.
And
so this one is probably more politically focused than this one.
But this one still has politics, more, I would agree.
The war aspect of Pericles is much more.
This makes this war more of a war game. The way they do combat.
This is a bit more prevalent. It's you end up with like different types of units and big stacks of wooden pieces, and you will conduct a combat and you'll add a combat value to it, and then that decides how many pieces are removed. Mm-hmm. So there's the war aspect of it is a bit more in depth in this one.
Yeah.
This one has, I think, a bit more nuance in the political aspects because you're debating other ideologies, which I think is really interesting.
Right. But I think one of those criteria was the economic or economy. In this one, you're fighting over production capacity.
Yes.
So it's like I'm trying to influence the Soviets or the Soviets are trying to influence the Americans to give them a production or two, so that they can fight on the East Front. Over here, the economy is a little bit more like you're fighting over sometimes the granaries, right? I'm trying to remember where they are.
The real economy in this is those Strategos tokens.
Yeah, the strategic. Yes, absolutely.
Which is a very abstract concept of those are like your leaders.
Yep.
/ your like strategic ingenuity as well.
Yep.
And
And I almost think somewhat the political will to engage in the war that you need.
So you're fighting over all these issues regularly, but you're also accruing a number of these Strategos tokens, and you're going to spend a lot of those to fuel actions or to secretly add those to attacks and things like that.
That's a very cool part of this game.
And then you also get into, we were doing all these debates. You won a bunch of those specific issues, like diplomacy or military stuff. If you don't have any Strategos to fuel those, not good. And so if I have a bunch more issues, it is in our best interest for me to give you the military one when you do the evening out of them, so that you can be more strong with that and I can support you.
Because you are working together. You're working with your own internal political party for your country, right? Sparta and Athens. And it's interesting.
It's a fascinating.
I really firmly believe these are both grand strategic
absolutely
games.
They are.
But they're a little. This is more abstracted, but even this has some abstraction to it.
It's at a very high level, but the war is not just like a track for the entire front.
These were two that, including them, I thought people are going to go, oh, that's not. But I think they are.
I think people should reassess that. And,
I agree.
And hope maybe this will make you think a little bit differently about these and what they can offer you as well.
And frankly, both those games are fantastic. We have played Churchill probably 15 times. I love it. I really enjoy it.
Very, very good.
We have now played Pericles a hell of a lot more. We played it 3 times in the last 18 months. I think we figured out.
Yeah,
right?
and I have.
I love it.
I'm still very bad at that game.
Well,
but it's still cool to do.
I'm bad at it because if I could play it multiple times, like in the same month, I think I would remember. Oh, okay, this is what I got to do. But I feel like I get lost in the confusion of winning debates and getting those issues. And then, oh my gosh, I don't have any Strategos. Or, why did I fight over this one? This doesn't matter to me now. And very, very cool. But I think those are great examples of grand strategic approach in a war game. So the other two...
These are maybe a bit more traditional as what people would think.
So they are block war games, though, and that's kind of
so that's
rarer.
That's different. But we got Triumph and Tragedy, Conquest and Consequence from GMT Games.
Both excellent games. I love both of these games.
And once again, these are kind of theater-based. So this is all of the Pacific. And this one is all
Europe.
of kind of Europe, West Front, kind of... No, European theater.
Yep.
And again, has some of those hallmarks that we've been talking about. You have technologies that you're trying to research. You have
factories you're trying to build and accumulate.
Yeah, and you have to like build your units, and you have to bump up their strengths before you kind of
they're hidden, which is very cool.
So yeah, that's one of the very unique things about this game compared to a lot of the other ones that are at grand strategic level. Is this is a block war game?
Yeah.
Also, 3-player games. That's also something that's kind of a hallmark of these. And you want to play these 3 players. Can you play them with less? Are there bots?
I'm not quite sure. I don't think there are.
You would not want to, even if you could.
Yeah.
This one says 2 to 3. You want to play it 3 players.
Yeah. The other really cool thing about this game, and both these games really, is the way they use cards.
Yes.
Right? There are 2 different types of cards. I'm sorry, not really. Yeah, there are 2 different types. So there's the factory technology cards, where there are a number of factories that represent your capacity to build your economy, right? To put together the war machine. And then also, they're multi-use cards, right? So they have these factories. You also have technologies, and there are 2 technologies represented on each card. Different technologies.
And you can only use one of them.
And you can only use one of them, but you're trying to build factories to then ultimately build technologies, which give you advantages in the field as you move and fight with your units. You're also trying to build more units and take over areas. The way you build that up is a 2-pronged approach, both population from areas you control, as well as the economic value of the areas you control. So that's one type of the card. The technology, very well done. I actually, and you can choose, like if you get 6 cards, you go, oh, I'm going to take 2 of these and I'm going to take 4 of these political cards.
Yeah.
Earlier in the game, the politics of this game matter a heck of a lot more than they do late, right? But also on these political cards, you have your commands. You have spring and summer and autumn and winter, and they have dual ability to then influence territories to become your satellites. So you'll find Germany is fighting for control of, Poland and Austria-Hungary and Czechoslovakia, and they've got to match these, play these out, and then put influence tokens there. When you get a certain amount of influence tokens, that becomes your satellite. Then you can move into it and it adds to your production. But the US, the Soviets, and the Brits are also doing that as well, trying to influence. So this the cards cover the economic and the political side of the grand strategic concept.
But it's also like political and military, and then it's like technology and economy.
Yeah.
And you have to choose between those two. So the card play in this is one of the coolest parts of it.
Oh, it's very fun.
Because there's so many layers of decision making within those.
Yeah.
And if you're like, I desperately need to do like a spring offensive and you didn't join.
Yeah,
you have to try and like fish for those.
Yep.
And to do that, you're like, well, I have to basically sack economy and technology because I very desperately need to go first, otherwise I'm going to have a military disaster.
Well, and that's why, like I said, when you might get 6 or 7 cards a turn, you have to choose from those 2 stacks. If I have to
you have to decide before as
right,
well. Oh,
if I have to get a spring offensive because I want to go first and I'm going to have to take 5 or 6 of my 7 cards in offensives.
It's still not guaranteed.
Right, and then I might take 1 technology card because I still want to develop a technology potentially, and those are choices you have to make beforehand. So
it's so good.
To me, that's also a concept of that grand strategic. You're making decisions with imperfect knowledge sometime, and it's just a very cool aspect of the game.
And then you get into a block war game where there's a tactical fog of war. So you go and launch your assault, and all of a sudden, oh, they were bluffing. There's nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Or it's a massive stack, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And so you get that element of it too. That's really, really cool. These are really, really fun, engaging games.
Well, and these are, I mean, they're designed as 3-player games, right?
And that is how you should do it.
In Triumph and Tragedy, you're doing the Western Allies, U.S., Britain, and then somebody's the Soviets, and then somebody's the Axis, right? Italy and Germany. In this one, it's a 3-player game.
Yeah.
Somebody plays the United States, somebody plays Japan, and then somebody plays the Soviets, and then Soviets play one of the factions.
Yeah, they play the
China,
communist China,
and then the
U.S.
U.S. takes care of the Chiang Kai-shek.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what they were called.
No,
Someone's screaming at me right now. But
no, the Chinese nationalists.
Yeah, but that's a very cool concept there because there's geopolitical wranglings that was not included in Triumph and Tragedy.
And that extra layer in this was very cool.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, as the Soviets, that's the only thing that you're doing.
Because the Soviets don't
the Russians don't do anything in this game hardly. They just defend.
You last played the Soviets when we played last year, right? I think I played Japan.
Yes.
I screwed up significantly.
And then someone else was the US.
Our friend from Fort Wayne, can't remember his name. Nathan? I'm drawing a blank. That's terrible.
Yes. It was.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Dang it. Sorry.
He's on the review and I apologize.
Yeah. We'll remember. But these, to me, are also really good examples of grand strategic games.
Very. Well, it has everything.
Yeah, it's got it all.
And it's like right there in front of you, kind of in your face. It's not like, oh, there's some like weird esoteric economy. Like, no.
It's pretty
Every
clear.
decision that you make is wildly important in this. And just really, really fun.
I really enjoy playing them. I mean, they're fun games. In fact,
yes.
we need to take these to WBC and other cons and try to get a game in because you don't get 3 players together that often.
So, on the theme of block war games, we have Pacific Victory.
Man, we played this game like 3 years ago, and
Yeah.
I love it. I would play this today.
Yes. So this
Absolutely a blast.
This one's a little less of the politics and the economy side of it.
Yeah.
But you play the entirety of the Pacific Theater, and it is at a really kind of quite a high
scale.
level where we're going to lump this in here with these games. This is also just like a really fun game.
Yeah.
Because what I would say, compared to all these other ones, this is on the kind of lighter end of it.
Yeah.
It's very beer and pretzels.
It is, definitely.
It's a Columbia block war game. If you've played any of those, you know how like the system of battle works.
But when you say beer and pretzels, I think a lot of people think, it's just silly. This is a fun game. I mean, it really has some interesting elements to it. I also think they handle the Chinese Civil War very well.
It's very difficult, yeah.
I think it makes a bigger impact in this than I even think in Conquest and Consequence. But maybe not, but it felt like that.
This one has, the one thing that I remember from this is that it has those cyclones, like those big massive storms.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of things that you're worried about in this game,
Yeah.
is that there is a massive cyclone and a big monsoon in this one hex,
Yeah.
which is a huge geographical area,
Yeah.
and you can't do any naval stuff in that
Yep.
during that whole turn. You're worried about that in this kind of a game.
I also think it's cool. I mean, this includes Chinese, Anzac. I mean, it includes everything,
Yeah.
right? You don't have a lot of Pacific Theater games that have individual Anzac blocks running around, or sometimes, but those are more typically operational. But this one I thought was cool. You have U.S., British. I don't know. I love this game. I actually really enjoy this and would love to play it again. Frankly,
it's just a big, fun, big, bombastic game.
and it's really a sandbox too. You can do whatever the heck you want.
Yeah.
So.
Really, really fun game.
Probably one of our weakest examples of a grand strategic game here, but whenever I think of the Pacific Theater, World War II, I always think grand strategic, because the distances involved are just significant.
Yeah, I really, really like that one. The next one we're talking about is Struggle for Europe from Worthington Games.
A different kind of a game, by the way.
Very different kind of a game, and very different kind of a grand strategy game as well. So this is just the European theater of World War II.
And it's based on the same system used in Lincoln.
Yes. That was a partnership from PSE and Worthington.
It was, yeah.
And so they took that system and put it into World War II.
Game.
I think this is a better game than Lincoln.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think there's a bit more options and things to do in it.
This is a fun game. I really have enjoyed this game.
So this is also plays in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Most of these games that we've talked about,
in 4 to 6.
yeah, or sometimes they go all day because you're just like messing around. But this plays in about 2 hours, and this one, what you're doing on the board is almost all military.
Yeah.
However, the economies in this game
your cards.
is in your cards. And you could then say, oh, every CDG. Yeah, okay. But the way that this one works, where you're going to add cards into your deck as the game progresses, and that changes based on the historical, economic levels and support that you were getting from your allies.
So the German deck at the beginning is very powerful,
Yes.
right? Over the game, it starts to get weaker and weaker and weaker.
Yeah, it gets more and more diluted, whereas the Allies side of it...
better and better.
Better and better. And so, there's not really any politics in this one.
No, I would say that's where this probably doesn't necessarily meet the strict definition.
But all the politics are on the events that you do, which most of that's pretty abstract. But you're doing a lot of army building, and if you build your army with your army building card, hey, guess what? That card goes out
away.
of the game.
Yeah.
And so you're faced with those decisions.
You're losing a good
Do
card.
I levy a frickin' army and I lose a big ops card?
Yep.
Or do I keep that in? So you're still faced with those big command decisions.
Yeah.
And then you've got to prosecute the whole of the European theater.
The other thing I like that I think is very strategic about it is the concept of the amphibious landing cards, because there's not a lot of them in your deck.
No.
And almost always they have a secondary ability that is really good that wants to make you make you use it,
Yeah.
which is then going to throw it away. But I think of the concept of putting together an operation like D-Day. It took how many years of planning? Like 2 years of planning. They had a stop, go, on hold for months because of weather and different. And I think about that. You have to plan this. You have to plan that in this game. You also have to plan the use of your air support and your move. It's just a very high level game that you're thinking, and it's point to point. So it not even area specific or adjacency, but it's just very cool. I have enjoyed this game. I wrote a big series of posts on it because I found it so fascinating and so well designed.
And the combat system in this one's great. Because
Yeah.
when you take losses, you lose that many counters.
Yep.
And it is, so you're...
Well, and it's typically half. So if you have 6 counters and you don't have any ones, let's say all of them are 2s or 3s, you're going to lose like half of those. And you're going to have to lose a couple of 2s and 1 3. Now, you want to go into battle with 1 or 2 1s. That way you can throw those away.
Yeah, you want the level 1 guys. It sounds
just
terrible. It's like body
throw 'em
bags
away.
to like toss them. Yeah, it's...
That's a very interesting concept because your tanks are 3s. You don't have a lot of those. You cannot afford to lose those.
if you've got a stack of 3 tanks...
Don't attack.
Don't do that. That's very bad.
Add a couple dudes and then attack. Very cool.
I really
love
really
this
like
game.
this game. I underrate it as well.
Yeah, I really wish they would do one like on the Pacific Theater.
It's not the best looking game in the
No,
whole world,
but it's functional.
But the gameplay is really
and
good.
it doesn't have the map problems that Lincoln had. There were some map problems on Lincoln that made it such that you could win the game and take over.
Yeah, they fixed that though.
They did. They added on
but
the
everyone
edition
still
we had,
whinged
but they
about
complained
it. But
about
that
it.
one, to me, the issue is that it's fun and it looks great, but also like your options are quite limited.
Agreed.
Like, it's
Yeah,
like
it's not
there's
very
really
big.
like 2 tracks
Yeah.
and the Shenandoah.
But it's still fun.
Yes.
I mean, I still had a good time with Lincoln.
But this one's a bit more. Oh, everything's a bit connected. You're not quite as shoehorned
Let's
in.
do HIS.
Sure. So
Then
we
we can
have,
finish with that and then this one.
So we got.
Because I think this is a perfect example of
Yes.
a grand strategic.
Here I stand.
Another one that we debated.
Yeah.
Whether it's a
But
grand
to me,
strategic.
you have. So this is a card-driven game.
Yes.
So your economy, so to speak, is in your cards.
Yep.
However many points that you have, you're going to use that to build or to spend or to do actions.
Or attack.
So you don't have like factories that are generating economies. However, how many cards you get is based on your keys.
Yep.
Which are your capitals. They are your big centers of production.
The more keys you control,
The more cards you get,
the more cards you get.
that's your bigger economy. So it's different from little grade plastic factories.
And even some of the, like the French, the English, and the Habsburgs. Can
Yes.
anyone else go across? So those 3 can explore
the New World.
the New World, South America, North America, and they can build their economy that way. You can find, villages, you can find
You can establish colonies.
colonies, and then those are going to return potentially a card to you.
Which is you extracting riches from
Yeah,
them.
so it's like, as the Habsburgs, every time I play them, I send 1 or 2 explorers to the New World immediately.
Send the
because
conquistadors, send the explorers.
I want some of those cards. And you get, with the Habsburgs, you can get up to like 8 or 9 cards, and everyone else has 5 or 6. So you take advantage of that, right? You have more options, you have more abilities, and that represents your economy.
You're the emperor, you've got the money.
You've raped the New World of its riches, you've garnered the new ships and the new fleets, and you're going out and you're exerting your force. The same with the Ottomans. The Ottomans are doing a lot of piracy, which gains them victory points. I don't think it gets them cards.
It can steal cards from other
It can
players,
steal
though.
cards. There you go, I forgot that. So that's another way for them to get 6 or 7 cards. And if they take over like Vienna and a couple of other keys, all of a sudden they're kind of a juggernaut. And then you've got the religious war between, the Protestants and the Catholics, and then you've even got that war of religion going into France and England as you convert them, and so that kind of matches the political concept a little bit.
And everything in this game is political.
You can
it is political
declare war.
at the table with people. You have a full-blown
Negotiations.
negotiation phase.
Yep.
You're making alliances.
You can give cards, like, I'm going to give you this card because it really helps you. please don't attack me this
Well,
turn.
it's random though, so you're like, I have this
you're
card
right.
that will help you. You might get it.
Right.
Please leave me alone.
Right. But the concepts are you're trying to negotiate, barter, bargain.
Yeah, and it's you're moving your armies, and your armies are just like numbers.
Yeah.
And you're moving them around, trying to take control of places, siege massive areas.
And it's the entirety of the European continent, right? Plus the New World.
Yeah.
And Virgin Queen really, I think, fits into the same kind of concept.
Very similar.
It covers the New World. In fact, it covers. There's exploration that can go into
They've got even more.
the Middle East and North Africa area. I mean, it's even a grander strategic game.
But yeah, this is kind of wanted to show some of these. I think about Pericles as well. That like when people talk about grand strategy games, people think, oh, World War II.
Sure.
But like, there's so much more to grand strategy than just those.
Yeah.
And some of these games do slide into that. This is one of the best games of all time.
Well, I love
This
Here
is
I
a
Stand.
favorite here.
We'll play that at any time. So
Thematically, mechanically,
yeah.
what you're doing.
The only thing,
so
the
good.
only thing I want to see is I really, this is a deluxe edition, right?
It's an anniversary edition.
I
That's
really
not,
want to see some new art, some
Get-
new graphics,
How-
some new layout. I really do.
if you sold
This
Here
is
I
such a
Stand
damn good game.
Deluxe Edition with a nice new map
Ugh.
by one of the incredibly talented artists out there, and you just revamped the look of your
Yeah.
pieces and your games, every person who owns this would buy a new
I would buy a new copy.
immediately.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
anyway.
even think about it.
We could go. I don't want to offend anyone because the artist team is great. I think that was the style.
We've come so far since
We've
then.
come so far. It's time, in my opinion, to redo some of these classics.
Beautiful game
So-
mechanically. Let's give it a facelift.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about.
Sure.
So this was one also we argued about. We consider this, I think you more than me, grand tactical.
Yeah, so this is at a strategic level for sure, but what a lot of the things that you're doing on the board are tactical.
Sure.
Where you have like terrain concerns and movement points and all this stuff. So this probably fits on a grand tactical level, but you have
Economies, politics.
all that stuff. and it's
Negotiation.
wonderful.
Yeah.
This is a massive game, though. This is a very long game. Big two-player hex and counter game.
I am so grateful that we played this at Buckeye Game Fest. And
Yeah.
we only played like about 2 years.
Yeah.
And it took, I bet we played it 15 hours.
Yeah.
Right, over 4 days, and I fell in love with it, right? I actually went home and I put in a P500. Now, we've talked about it. I may end up not doing it, but I want this game in my collection
It's so good.
because it's so good. It's so representative of that grand strategic, although it's grand tactical,
Yeah.
potentially. But it ticks all the boxes.
It ticks
it's
all
the
those
same
boxes,
thing.
but
It's just a little different.
You get into more of the minutia than you do in any of these other ones.
This may be where we agree to disagree, but I guess I'm not trying to have such a strict.
No.
But I get what you're saying. Empire of the Sun, same thing. It's
Yes.
very similar concept. But this is a game that I would love to set up on my table and play it over a year, right?
The first time I played this solo.
Yeah.
And so if you, of all of the games that we've talked about,
This is very solo
this is the
friendly.
one that is solo friendly.
Yep.
Like Churchill and Pericles have bots, but
They're a
take it
little
or
more
leave it.
work than they're worth.
Lamps are going out. You could do,
Don't spoil the last one. We haven't talked about it yet.
but
But this is an absolute all-time classic. Sal
So
Vast
good.
is a genius. I know he's been working on a World War I.
yeah, he's been
but
working on Armistice. He's been working on the Pacific version of this for
It's
years.
like, come on, Sal.
But also, like, this
That
is
Pacific
such
one-
a nuanced game.
Yeah.
Translating this into something else,
It's gonna take a lot of
You can't
work.
do a cookie cutter like you can in
No.
other systems.
This is so good.
So
Though.
that's why it's taken so freaking long. But it's wonderful.
And I'm so glad, once again, so glad that we're going to play this, Grant. And we did it, and we enjoyed it, and it was exhausting,
Yeah.
and we only got 2 years into it, but I was having a ball, man.
yeah,
it was great.
You get everything in it. You have the
Yeah.
diplomacy cup for international diplomacy. You have a full-blown Z's economy.
Yep.
Your national will can go down. You care about your national will based
Yep.
on losing land armies in combats, and doing all these other things, losing ground, losing factories. If your political will your country collapses,
Yep, you're
and they're
out.
like out of the game, or if you're one of the major powers, they kind of just reset.
Yeah.
All sorts of things going on in this game.
So
and
good.
Truly a sandbox. You can
Yep.
do whatever
you
you
want.
want. You can play this historically, or you can do anything else.
I mean, yes, you can, but you got to do certain things, right? Germany's got to knock France out. Germany's got to line up on the East Front.
But you don't have to do it in that order.
No, you don't have to do it really necessarily quickly either.
You can do the scenario where the French are fascists and are
Sure,
with the, like
and have joined the Vichy. Yep.
They've got all these other scenarios
Yep.
where the Italians are allied.
And
stuff.
that's
you
the
can
other.
do the silly stuff.
That's the other thing that's very cool about that, because we, in our play, I think Spain ended up going with the Allies.
Yes.
Right? Didn't.
That's correct.
And I was like, oh crap, because now all of a sudden, I have another enemy on my. Now they were very weak.
But that's a whole other strategic consideration that
I had
no other game
another
gives.
enemy that I had to worry about, and I was trying desperately to get Vichy France on my side, so I didn't have a second enemy on that side. But I was also trying very hard to finish the Brits in North Africa, and it's you got to make choices, right? I launched, I think, Barbarossa. Did I launch it in April? We had good weather, and rather than wait till June,
you did at least a few months
and
early.
I made really good progress, and because of that progress, I was able to then pick up, I think, like Greece and Bulgaria and Romania. I mean, they were all on my side, and I started using those units, as you need to kind of go to the Bosporus and Sebastopol,
so
and very fun. The final game that we're going to talk about here today, I think is, I'm not going to say one of the best examples of a grand strategic game, but I think it's a very
it's
good
one of, yeah, sure.
examples. This is The Lamps Are Going Out, World War I. This is a second printing from Compass Games.
Second edition.
Second edition. We played this as part of our Guns of August event. I think it was the first big game we played, and we fell in love with it immediately.
This is excellent.
It has it all. The politicking, the economy, the card play is very important to it. It's area movement, so it's not necessarily really specific on combat and styles, but it's just so good, and it's also a sandbox. You can kind of do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and I think this one, it's like the entire west front of World War I is like 2 or 3 spaces.
Yeah.
and so
And it doesn't move.
it's a massive stack of units with a big old trench marker
Yeah.
on top, and you will slog it out and
Yeah.
make no progress. It's such a good game because you also have technologies. So
Yep.
you get like the artillery race. Who can get the best artillery doctrine?
Yep.
Who can get the air advantage? Who gets the gas first? And who can start using that to try to gain an advantage
Yeah.
to tip one of those big battles?
And don't you end up buying? No, you don't buy these cards back. That's in Imperial Tide.
Which Imperial Tide should be on this list.
It should. I just forgot to bring
Once
it.
you were talking about this, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, because
Because Imperial Tide is very similar to this game, frankly.
but that plays in like 2 hours. This
Yeah,
plays
yeah,
in
yeah.
like 4, 6.
The other thing I really enjoyed about the technology on this is you had to have certain technologies to go to the next level, and that came in the cards. So if you don't get your cards in the right order,
It's pretty random.
and it is a little bit random. That was the only thing I didn't like, but I kind of liked it. It ended up working out.
It was just kind of like,
yeah, I
it's
can't do
not
that.
serious
yeah.
a game in a way.
But I think the combat system's very cool, and it's a fun game to play. And it's like a 3 to 4 hour game. Maybe
very, very good.
Maybe 5 hours if you really were kind of slow.
Yeah, I
feel
think
like
if
it
you're
was more
slow
like
and
5
new,
hours.
take your time with it.
But it's a really good game. It's a great example of a grand strategic game.
And it's World War One as well.
Yeah.
So you get some of the feel of that where
Yeah.
the west front of the east front, very different.
Yeah.
If you've got your little Italians that activate, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
They're just gonna
They're going to hold the fort
They're
down.
a defensive force.
Yeah.
Do not try to attack with them. You will lose. I
Yeah.
speak from experience.
I also really like, and any World War I game, I think we end up seeing this. The West Front's very stagnant. The East Front is where a lot of the
At this scale, absolutely.
yeah, a lot of the meat and potatoes of fighting is done, and you can take a lot of ground and make a lot of inroads, and you can lose a lot of inroads
Very quickly.
And I just really enjoy this game. Makes me want to play it again when I talk about it. But I enjoy grand strategic games because I do like, as much as I enjoy tactical, I do enjoy the larger scale, the more zoomed out approach, the large theater concepts, the politicking, the economics. I will tell you the other game that I wanted to include on this list, but I know I liked it more than you did, was the downfall of the Third Reich from Do It Games. We played it earlier this year.
Yeah.
Very interesting game. There were some problems with it.
Yes.
But to me, that's a really interesting grand strategic game because it had it all. I mean, it had all that politicking, economics. I just enjoyed the concepts. I think there needed to be clearer victory conditions because it was all or nothing.
They goofed on that.
I hate games that are all or nothing. I just hate it. And in fact, I did Operation Sea Lion on that, and I took over Alexandria and didn't automatically win. I mean, that's ridiculous.
No, and
that's ridiculous.
And you probably would have lost that game.
Yeah, probably.
Which is insane to say.
Because I had spent so much time and effort and resources on getting those two things that I probably would have lost that game because of it.
Well, but like, it's a game...
But you were out of the game.
But also, like, I wasn't.
I know, but
I should have been.
But you should have been.
And that...
Yeah. Anyway, there's problems with that one. But I enjoyed the grand strategic look at that theater.
It's a really fun scale to play at.
Yeah.
Because it also feels very game-like.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I move my armies from this place to this place, and you do things. Instead of, you're not like down in the weeds of counting movement points and supply, and what are my terrain modifiers? It's typically like, here's my guys, I push them into this area, let's roll some dice.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
more
these
simplified.
kind of games have some element of that in it.
So I don't know, let us know what grand strategic games you enjoy. There may be others out there on the list that either we haven't played or haven't experienced. So let us know. I think we both enjoy grand strategic.
Yes.
I think we both enjoy tactical as well and operation. We love it all, right? If I had to rank those three, I would probably say tactical's my favorite, then grand strategic, and then operational. But I love them all. I really do. I think I prefer tactical because of the way my mind thinks sometimes. I just like smoke and cover and
there's
just
great merit in
making fire groups and
when you get the personal narratives out of it, which is a very interesting story.
But you also get great narratives out of a grand strategic game.
Yes.
So just in a different way.
So yeah, let us know what your favorite grand strategic games are, especially ones that are from different periods. I'm always interested to see, because people will come out of the weeds with like, hey, this game, like, I've genuinely never heard of that.
Would you consider, okay, let's think of some of the ancient games that we've played. What about Genesis? Is that grand strategic?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about...
That's more of a Civ builder, though. With you, like...
Yeah, Civ builder with a little bit of combat.
But, like, it's at that same scale. And,
sure.
And your terrain is just for movement points. Is there point to point.
Politicking in that one?
Not really.
You take slaves, I know, when you defeat. Can you swap slaves? I just don't remember. It's been so long.
It's more of just taking territory.
Another game we talked about, Cataclysm, is grand strategic.
Would absolutely make this list. I just don't have it. I sold it.
Well, and I think we liked it at first, then we played it again, and by the third time we played it, I think I started saying, there's some issues with this.
Yeah, it
had to do with the amount of chits and the way it took so long.
Yeah.
And I remember in that one, I won one game one time where I took over, I was in Moscow. And I remember thinking, I'm like in trouble here. And I won it, right? But I don't know why I brought that up, but it
just bragging.
Yeah, but that's a game that I wanted to like more, but I think ultimately at the end, after multiple plays, we stopped liking. I think with Genesis, I have felt that way too. By the third play, I was like, ugh, this is too much. But it's fun, but it's just too much.
It's really fun and enjoyable, but also like...
It's a slog.
It's not balanced in any meaningful way.
I was the Mauritanians or something.
Not that it should be. It's a bird game.
I was literally out in the middle of nowhere doing nothing. As you guys were killing each other.
And so it's like...
Yeah. Anyway.
Fun game.
What about Sword of Rome? No, that's not necessarily... I love Sword of Rome, though. A great freaking game. Yeah, it's maybe crossing the line.
You could make an argument for it.
Sure.
I'd be...
I'll stop.
Yes.
We could go on and on and on, but...
Time of crisis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Time of Crisis definitely, but there's...
But you're also like, that's a deck builder.
Yeah.
That's what you would categorize.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us know your grand strategic games.
Let us know if we're crazy. I'm okay with being crazy. If you want to tell me we're idiots, go ahead. Bring it on.
Absolutely. But either way, appreciate you very much for sticking with us and tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.